What's up, guys? Here with you with episode 6 of FC Wonderkid podcast. Here with my guy, Breton. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well after last night. Oof, man, oh man.
You were the one who picked Chelsea, right?
I did. I picked Chelsea. I almost waffled. I didn't put any money down on it, so I didn't profit off of this win. But I gotta say from the get go, and then I'll stop my American bias after this. It was a historic day for all American footballers and American footballing fans because Christian Pulisic at 22 becomes the first American to play in a Champions League final and then win a Champions League final. And if only he didn't pull that shot to the left.
I know, I saw
Ooh,
it. I was thinking Breton must be dying at this moment. Like
uh,
if Pulisic had scored that goal. But I won't judge Pulisic. I'll judge Werner. Like Chelsea should be winning 3-0 first
yeah.
half. But I'd like to mention one name first, and that name
Hmm.
is Kai Havertz,
Yep.
because Kai Havertz is going to be remembered now with a Didier Drogba type goal.
Yep.
Okay, because all the young Chelsea fans are going to remember Kai Havertz, the most expensive Chelsea signing ever,
Yep.
scoring one of the most important goals in Chelsea
Uh,
history. It's fitting. It's
it is.
fitting.
It is. And actually, just to piggyback on that, Didier Drogba, Frank Lampard, Kai Havertz. Those are the only three Chelsea goal scorers in a Champions League final. No matter what he does in a Chelsea shirt from here on out, he will forever be remembered fondly solely for that moment. Um,
That is
some,
impressive.
I mean, something tells me though Kai Havertz is going to go on to have a very good career because you got to think about what the poor guy actually went through this past year. I mean, he had COVID, and not just that, he had those lingering effects, the respiratory stuff and all that that
Hmm.
you don't want. Most of us as younger people, you can shake it off. Not that I'm a doctor here in any way, shape, or form, but Kai Havertz was not necessarily able to shake it off. It took him a while, and then add to that the weight on his shoulders of becoming the most expensive player.
I agree.
And on top of that, you've got a transition to a league that is very different than the Bundesliga.
And
Um,
a new
and then,
culture,
oh, yeah.
language, center backs. You're saying the English league is different. The center backs are much stronger, much ruthless, and the time you have to think when you get the ball is so limited. In the English league, you need to think fast. If you don't, you're not you can't be there. And yeah, but it was really good too to see Mason Mount
Oh,
winning the title. I wanted to see Foden, but seeing Mason Mount lifting up the title, it's reminiscent for some Chelsea fans of Lampard, and we can start comparing both. I guess it's
some reminiscent, some of it. It is reminiscent of it, and I'll tell you what, this opportunity would have never afforded itself to Chelsea if they didn't get that transfer ban, right?
true.
If they, if they didn't screw it up, I don't see them dipping into Cobham and giving. I think they were given between Lampard and Tuchel this year.
Hmm.
They gave nine players their first shot, all academy players. And you've got a guy like Mason Mount, who I believe it was 5 years ago, almost to the day, that he
Hmm.
lifted. He came off the bench and helped them win the UEFA Youth League 5 years ago. And there he is yesterday lifting the Champions League trophy. Um,
But
and that wouldn't have happened if you didn't have the turmoil you had over the last 2 years.
you gotta admire how cold blooded Roman Abramovich is.
Oh yeah,
He replaces the manager mid-season, and Thomas Tuchel leaves PSG and wins the Champions League.
yeah,
Like the pressure that Roman Abramovich puts on managers
yeah,
is unbelievable. Like Conte, the minute he starts losing, out.
yeah.
Lampard, the minute he starts dipping a bit, out. He doesn't give a chance to the managers.
No,
He,
no,
but
and
I get a feeling he really loves Chelsea, though. I know he's involved with the Super League and everything,
mm,
but I don't know. He changed the club. You even saw Aspilicueta having a moment with him in the end of at the end of
right.
the game, celebrating, and he said, look, this man, you Chelsea fans, you owe a lot to him. Like he's the well, it's
Yeah.
understandable.
Well,
He pays the
the funny
bills, but
yeah, and I don't know if this is true.
mm,
I should probably verify it before saying it, but it sounds right in that when Abramovich was out on the pitch after the win, it was actually the first time Thomas Tuchel and Abramovich had met each other face to face.
no, that's
Um,
crazy.
and I don't know whether someone verify that. Let us know if it's true in the comments.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm guilty of clickbait, and I apologize. Um, but I'll tell you what, the other person you have to throw in here.
Go.
Um, I am so happy of the game Reece James put in.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
7 tackles, 1, and I'm pretty sure when he emptied out his pockets at the end of the night, he had Raheem Sterling right in there. So it was just a great game and another Cobham product. I mean, hell, Mason Mount and Mason Mount started in the academy when he was 6 years old. I believe Reece James was right around the same time too. So these
Mm-hmm.
guys are blue. I mean, they are literally blue. And
True.
to
True.
see them do something like that, I mean, that is the narrative that you almost want. And it's obviously it's a tough loss for Manchester City considering how amazing of a season. To see De Bruyne go out early with a broken freaking, excuse my language, but
Let's
a
see.
broken orbital, a broken skull. I mean, that guy's a warrior, and it was not his most fluid year, but man, he is still one of the. He is a great, and he
Well,
will get his chance again. I have a feeling.
well, I want to say something about this game, and it is right now Kante is my number one pick for Ballon d'Or
Wow.
because Kante was the man of the match in the first leg in the semifinal. Second
Mhm.
game, he was the man of the match too, and in the
Yep.
final, he was no doubt the kryptonite to Guardiola.
Yeah.
I think Guardiola can't figure out what he can do with against Conte. Conte is undoubtedly one of the best players we've seen this decade. He
Yeah.
is game changing, and he deserves a new contract at Chelsea. Sign it. He deserves anything what he wants. He is
Yeah.
the star.
I'm
He's
with you there, and think about this: the last time Chelsea won the Champions League, I believe it was 2012.
mm-hmm.
N'Golo Kante was still playing in the third division of France.
It's,
Made his way up to Liga 2, then made his way up and obviously to Leicester at some point. And
I,
now he's won a Premier League championship. He's won an FA Cup. He's won a Europa League championship. He's won a World Cup. And let's add the Champions League to that. And who knows? Maybe he adds a Euro later on this summer. But yeah,
whoa.
you did say you didn't want to see him cry or,
It's
so.
true. I did say that. I did say that. But I think after this match too, like Chelsea need to be thinking, should we replace Werner? Would you replace Timo Werner?
I'd give him another year at least. I mean, he's young. He's you can see he puts himself in places. I certainly have nothing. He can't hit the broadside of a barn right now with a shot, but he certainly puts himself in places. He's mobile. I mean, there's so many positives that you can build off of. I think the bigger question you almost have to ask
Mm.
is this the most value you're ever going to get from an N'Golo Kante? This is ruthless, but do you think about offloading him or do you
No,
keep building around him?
impossible,
I'm
impossible.
just saying, Leicester City
Eh,
did it.
he's the no Chelsea won't do it. He's the type of player Chelsea wants to compare themselves with Barcelona and Real Madrid, or at least I get
Fair
that
enough.
feeling.
Yeah.
And even Hazard leaving Chelsea, it was a big thing. They didn't like it. It
Mhm.
happened, but Chelsea didn't like it. That shows that Chelsea are trying to compare themselves with the top of the top.
Sure.
But it's more too. I was here talking about Werner, but I should be talking about like on the other side. Guardiola must be thinking, I need a left back and a striker
Mm.
badly, badly. And Aguero's leaving to Barcelona, and I think this is the Harry Kane confirmed. I think
Mhm.
Harry Kane is going to Man City after this match. De
That
Bruyne,
would be
De Bruyne left. City had nothing. I don't know
mm,
why he didn't put the CDM. I think it was because of what I said, the Conte kryptonite. I think he wanted to do something to exploit Conte, but it didn't work.
yeah.
And
But you
De
don't think if
Bruyne,
you have a Fernandinho in there, I mean, just for the sake of this is a one-off game. This is not some tactical masterpiece. This
hmm
is this is a one-off game. You got to have your warriors in there. And I mean, Fernandinho is going to do everything he most possibly can to win that, or even a Rodri. But like, I just don't understand the lack of a DM. I really don't. That
I
one
yeah,
confounded me. I have no clue why. And it was glaring, obviously, when you had the two center backs. It was like the parting of the sea,
I agree.
right? The two center backs with that Kai Havertz goal. I was confused.
Well, it
I
was
mean,
a
tell
heck
me
of
what
a
happened there. I don't know what
I
happened.
agree. I agree. Well, it was a heck of a day. Like it was a really good game. In my opinion, I liked it. I liked the game. But yeah. So with this game, Chelsea validate themselves as the number one club in London, in my opinion. Two
I
Champions Leagues. Arsenal fans, you're out of the, you're out of European competitions. It's so sad how down Arsenal is right now. And let's go to the next topic with this because the man who left Arsenal, Unai Emery,
Mhm.
is beating Arsenal in the semi-finals,
Yeah,
and then is beating Man United, which finished second in the Premier League.
yeah,
Unai Emery, was he the guy? Gendozi said Unai Emery was the best coach he ever had.
yeah.
You can go see. Like this is mad.
It is, and the funny thing is let's see, what do the two guys have in common? Thomas Tuchel and Unai Emery, both winning the European Championships this year, the major European Championships, club championships, I should say. What do they have in common? They both were sacked by PSG. That has nothing to do with really anything, but it is kind of a funny thing to think about when you have this managerial carousel that seems to always happen, and it happens at places like PSG. It happens at places like Arsenal, and hell, I mean, Mauricio Pochettino might be out at PSG too. So it's kind of like you gotta give somebody time. Give somebody time to build a culture, right? A
Hmm.
culture doesn't happen day one. So I'm with you there. I know if Unai Emery was the guy at Arsenal? I don't. But let's just say he just brought a first trophy to a town of 50,000 and the Yellow Submarine that has been kind of one of the more interesting teams in La Liga over the years.
But you
Uh,
talk about like building a culture and keeping your manager. But would
mhm.
you keep Ollie? I wouldn't keep Ollie at Man United. I'm gonna say it. I wouldn't keep Ollie at Man United. If I were Man United, I'd straight up get Antonio Conte.
Mm. I mean, guy knows how to win.
If he's available, Man United need to get Conte.
Yeah. Yeah, and,
I
and
think he'd win. I think he'd win at Man United.
I just see. I don't know enough. I don't know enough about kind of his person to person managerial style, but
Hmm.
obviously from a tactical
Oh,
tactical standpoint, I mean, he's still young.
the wing backs.
Yeah,
Oof.
it's
The wing
just.
backs would play so well, and maybe he'd bring Lukaku.
Mhm.
Lukaku would go to Man United. That Lukaku
Well,
and Conte. But
yeah,
Cavani's there. I get you. Yeah.
I mean, but Ole Gunnar I mean, his managerial CV is what Mold, right? Molde in Norway, where he actually did, I believe, cross paths with Erling Haaland for a little while. But aside from that, you're the baby faced assassin. I mean, I just know him for his goals. And a hell of a player, but I don't. No, do I think he's the guy? One thing's for sure, and we're getting a little bit of off on a tangent
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
One thing is for sure, if you're Manchester United, you're not going to find another Sir Alex Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
Fergie, it's just not going to happen. To think that
Very
that
true.
that period of time is going to replicate itself, and you're going to walk into the promised land and have all of the things you had with Fergie. It's just not going to happen again. It's going to look different. It's going to feel different, and hell, it might be more volatile than it was with Fergie. But he was given the time clearly until he earned the respect. He faked it until he made it, right?
I agree.
And build that culture. And I
But
mean, come on, we're
it's a
be
different
built
day and
from the
age.
ground up too.
It's a different day and age though. Players are very empowered, and a coach back then they had much more power in the dressing room. I feel, and now with social media, players expose a lot, and I don't know. It's different times. I feel like the change didn't had an impact on Mourinho. It had
Yeah.
an impact on Wenger a bit. Yeah. But
I'm with
I
you.
wanted to highlight two players in Villarreal, and I think they're the two catalysts to the
Hmm.
Europa League win, and that is Gerard Moreno. Santi Cazorla said he was world class, and that is facts.
Yeah.
Gerard Moreno is a really good striker. He has 7 goals in 12 games in the Europa League. That is good.
Yeah.
In which I feel he scored 2 goals against in the semifinals,
Yeah.
or
I
was it
think
in the no?
you might be right about that. I know he's been
No,
nothing
he
but
scored in the
peripheral.
final though.
Horrific.
And Danny Parejo, he leaves Valencia and goes on for free to Villarreal, and Santi Cazorla leaves. Danny
Yeah.
Parejo replaces Santi Cazorla with all that pressure on a free,
Hmm.
and does a fantastic job. And Coquelin
Hmm.
stopped Bruno Fernandes.
Hmm.
He was marking Bruno Fernandes on his life. Like,
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes couldn't do anything. And
Hmm.
Coquelin is another player he was cheap.
Yeah.
He was cheap. Like,
Unfortunately, Coquelin may have just given the blueprint for stopping Bruno Fernandes in the Euros to France and Germany. So I hope they're wrong for
it won't
your sake,
happen. It won't
Alex.
happen. It won't happen. It won't happen.
Well, I gotta I'll jump on top of that there because there were some young guys that were in the mix, and Jeremy Pino at 18 years old actually been scoring from some pretty good goals for them this year. I think 6 or 7 goals in his first year, first professional year with them, and he became the youngest UEFA Europa League champion
Okay.
ever at 18 years old. And seeing him lift the trophy must have been pretty awesome because that's an academy that is up and coming. It's an academy that actually between him, Nino and or I'm sorry, Pino, and there's another guy, Fair Nino, and I think
Mm.
they both have very similar last names, but both of them have gotten a whole lot of time this year. And Alex Baena, who's done very, very well. But there's one other that I'll just jump on there because he didn't get to play a part against Manchester United, but he was vital for them against Arsenal. To not see a Samuel Chukwueze in that
Mm.
final was just devastating for me because there was this
What a
possibility that he
talent.
might be healthy, but he was stretchered off in the second leg against Arsenal. And this is a kid that didn't have the best of his years,
Yeah.
but ended up really kind of peaking at the end of the year during championship season, right when you needed it most. And he got them to that final, helped get them to that final. It just sucked,
You'd love
for
him.
lack of a better term, to not be able to see him in that. But the smiles afterwards, that's what you're here for. You
True.
know?
It was a good Europa League final. Like, the whole anxiety with the penalties, nobody
Yeah.
missing. Like,
I
I'm not
mean,
gonna
come
judge
on.
De Gea for missing the penalty, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
judge De Gea for not saving one.
Yeah. I'm there
So
with you.
he should. I'm not gonna say he should shoot better, but he should save one of the penalties. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got one more thing to say. Because I was thinking of Gerard Moreno as a possible Harry Kane replacement at Tottenham. And then
hmm
I started thinking a little more at Tottenham about Tottenham. And I thought of the guy that if you see, you probably saw on Twitter the photo circulating around with Juan Foyt. I
mm.
think he played fullback for them and also some center back this year, with him bloodied up and he had his nose all stuffed up and blood coming out of the
Argentinian,
nose. Yeah, it was
Argentinian.
pretty awesome. Well, he put in a ridiculous kind of warrior like performance. Probably could have had a red card at some point on Luke Shaw, I think it was. But ultimately, I mean, you see that picture and then you remember this is a guy that was cast off by Mourinho at Tottenham, basically deemed surplus to requirements, not good enough, not going to do it for you. And he winds up putting in that type of performance against Manchester United. And I believe, you ready for this? Juan Foyt became the 89th Tottenham Hotspur, or ex-Tottenham Hotspur,
Winning a
to
title.
leave and win a title or win a championship. 89.
That is so cruel. That is bad. That is bad.
It,
Oh,
it saddens me.
89th.
Yeah.
Well, I did notice something too about the game. Like
Mm.
United can't play with Scott McTominay and Fred. They need to get a six and play with Scott McTominay if they want to play with Scott. Because I get the feeling United fans want to keep Scott and maybe getting Declan Rice and Scott McTominay.
Yeah.
Six.
Yeah.
They need a six. They have
Yeah.
two eights playing that position, and that midfield they were, and the trio, the center back trio, Albiol in the middle, Pau
Mhm.
Torres and Juan Foyt. That
Mhm.
was a really good trio we saw in the Europa League final. It was a really good game too. Like we got really good finals. We need a that was really good. We saw good football.
We
So
did. We did.
next topic,
Mm.
under 21 team of the season.
Oh my goodness! I can't believe we're gonna do it after talking about the Champions League and Europa League. I mean, my blood is boiling with all this good football. But yeah, let's do this.
Do you want?
How do you want to do it?
Yeah. Do you want to do like defense first, and then you
Yeah.
say your defense, then I say
Yeah.
my midfield, and you say your midfield?
Sure.
Okay.
do that.
So it's a four. Is this a 4-3-3? Your tactic?
Ooh, yes.
Okay.
No, kind of like a 4-5-1. Yeah, 4-3-3. Whatever you want to think of it.
Okay.
as.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go with it.
Yeah.
So you want to start?
Sure. I think we both have the same goalkeeper.
Mm.
You have Ilan Meslier?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
The best under 21 goalkeeper. I agree with you there.
And this is a fun exercise, but we want to hear your teams in the comment section. So please, whether this is TikTok, YouTube, get them down there.
I'll put this on TikTok. TikTok community is amazing. I'm loving
All right.
it.
So our goalkeeper, we are aligned. We've got Ilan Meslier for his wonderful season with Leeds United.
Okay.
Now you want to go left back first?
I'm gonna say so. Meslier. Then at left back, I put Nuno Mendes.
Okay.
The one of the center backs, Wesley Fofana.
Okay.
The other Sven Botman.
Okay.
And right back, Reece James. So Ilan Meslier, Nuno Mendes, Botman, Reece James, and Fofana. So Meslier, Nuno Mendes, Fofana, Botman, and Reece James. I feel like that's the under 21 defenders of this season.
Yeah, I think you and I are 100% right now.
What? You agree? Yes. You put all these?
I did. I mean, as an American, I wanted to put Serginho Dest for actually having an impact at Barcelona. He's an intriguing prospect for sure, but you look at the body of work for Reece James he went out of the squad, back in the squad, and then winning the Champions League final and putting in that. I mean, I could not. You have to put Reece James, in my opinion.
Yeah, you do. It's 100%. You need to put Reece James.
Only other center back you didn't put in there, and I know you have a lot of love for him, is De Ligt.
It's team of the season. If it was the best under 21 center back, I'd put him because I feel like De Ligt is a generational talent. He's my top 3 under 21 players, so he would be there. But team of the season, Wesley Fofana and Sven Botman were.
You got that. So you thought about the assignment. Team of the season is very different than top talent. So the only other guy I would want to throw a shout out to center back wise is Maxon Lacroix at Wolfsburg for that season he put in next to Brooks. I mean, John Anthony Brooks is the big lumbering 6'4" center back, and Max Lacroix was like the mobile, still kind of big, still kind of physical breakout star of the Bundesliga. Yeah.
Good player. So I'll say my midfield. You want me to go with the midfield?
Yep.
Okay, so my 3 midfielders, team of the season under 21 are Tchouaméni of Monaco, one of the most underrated talents in my opinion in the world right now. Such a good talent at Monaco. Jude Bellingham, because I feel like it's so impressive how he went to Dortmund and he managed to have an impact at only 17. I feel like that speaks levels of how talented Jude Bellingham is. Yeah. And my other midfielder is Pedri, because Pedri is so unique right now. He's 18 and he's in my midfield in the under 21. So I've got a 17-year-old and an 18-year-old in my team of the season of under 21s. Yeah. And they're so good. Jude Bellingham and Pedri. First touch, quality, and they're so mature too. Very mature players. They
are.
don't look their age. Guardiola even commented, like, is that kid 17? He couldn't believe that Jude Bellingham was so young.
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing: we might be able to see both of them on the pitch, in the coming days in the Euros. You got a 7. That shows you how mature these guys. Southgate thinks Bellingham is.
Is he selected final selection?
Yeah, not final. I believe it's announced June 1st. So Tuesday.
I don't think he is gonna be picked, Breton.
I think I actually said that last. I don't know. My mind has been back and forth on Jude going, but. You're right. And here it goes again. But my midfield. Here we go. You ready?
Let's go. Your midfield.
Chouameni. You're right. Him next to Fofana in the AS Monaco midfield is what made their season easily. I mean, just bar none. Best two in that midfield, and they've just been phenomenal all season. But Chouameni especially, that was a breakout. And then I have next to them. Not Jude. I have Ryan Gravenberch.
Okay.
And that was simply this was a tough one for me, and it was more so thinking who would be best next to Chouameni. And to be honest, Jude would be too. But I just saw him struggling early in the year, and then having a great end of the year and leading them to an Eredivisie title. I thought that just really held weight, right? Just a phenomenal end of the season for him, and I think he is going to play and star at the Euros coming up. So, and then in front of them, I got Pedri. So, you and I, pretty much we're only missing one so far out of 8. We're doing pretty well.
Let's go with the attacking trio to finalize this one. We need to go. We need to go off. We spend loads of time with the Champions League and Europa League.
Yeah.
So right. With the trio. Let's go. I'm gonna my under 21 trio is Foden, Haaland, and Sancho. Because I don't feel there's any discussion with these three being the best under 21 forwards in the world.
Yeah.
Left winger Foden, deadly. Haaland scoring goals nonstop, and Sancho crossing them balls and then dribbling. I'm snubbing Dusan Vlahovic, though. He's a really good talent. I wanted to mention him.
Yep.
And Isaac was really good too. So those are the two.
I think you're right. You basically said there's really no way to argue any other way in here. But just look at who we're leaving out, right? You're leaving out Kai Havertz. We're leaving out João Felix. We're leaving out Mason Greenwood, Ferran Torres, Florian Wirtz, Dejan, Rodrigo. I mean, they didn't have phenomenal seasons, but like, This is that is a tough decision, but those three are miles ahead. They just are.
True.
I gotta agree with you. And yeah, Foden on the left. And frankly, that's where he should have been. I don't think he lined up on the. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he lined up on the left.
Well, Foden was left winger at the start, but then he was midfielder. Then he played a lot of time as a midfielder.
Yeah. So,
it was a weird one. It was the tactics. It was so weird. Guardiola really said I'm gonna do something special today, and it wasn't.
He overthought it. That's not when you do something special. You play to your strengths. Come on.
I agree.
What do I know? He gets paid the big bucks.
Well, that competition is settled, but we got another competition we need to talk about, and that is starting tomorrow, I think. The under 21 Euros.
Yep.
And big games there. Portugal, Italy.
Yep.
With my boy, Portugal's gonna win it. Just saying. And Netherlands against France. Like
Netherlands, France. Yeah, that's
gonna be two big teams, blockbuster teams. Like who's in the French team? The French team, they got Meslier, Upamecano, Konate, Ousmane Aouar, Camavinga.
Yep.
Hudson Edouard. I cannot. Let me see my notes. Maxon Lacroix, Moussa Diaby, a Leverkusen player, really good.
Yeah. The Celtic scorer Hudson Edouard will be up top likely. I think this will. I feel like he's been under 23 for like 15 years, but yeah, he's obviously been their perennial striker up front. But yeah, just so much.
He'll leave Celtic.
He should. He should. I mean, kind of following the same road as Moussa Dembele, but it's just whether or not where he goes. He
Fit to
was
the
he was
Prem.
PSG, right? He was PSG to there as well.
Yes, yes. I'm not entirely sure though, but I think Hudson Edouard would. I think he's heading to the Prem. I think Leicester is. I can see a lot of news with Leicester linking up with him,
Yeah. That's
and it
good.
would be a smart business. And they got Somare already, but let's talk that afterwards. Under 21 Euros.
Yeah.
Who are the
But
big stars for you?
well,
At
yeah. I mean, here's the thing, right? That France, that's a tricky setup.
mm,
France Netherlands. Then Netherlands, unfortunately, a lot of their stars that helped them get there are going to be with the senior team, right? But you do have like a Calvin Stengs, and you have Myron Boadu. I probably said his name terribly. Sorry,
I like
but
it.
like, I mean, these are guys. Boadu could easily be with the Dutch senior squad right now.
Oh, Stenks too.
Stengs too, yeah, and Boadu especially because I'm looking at it and saying you take Luke De Jong
Uh huh.
over Myron Boadu. I don't understand that, but it's a tricky matchup because France, you can only put 11 players on the field, and when you have that glut of talent, it almost becomes tough, right? I
True.
mean, you need to have a team first. You can have a collection of talent, but if you don't have the team, it's a little
True,
bit tough.
and
So
you saw that I put Svet Botman in my under 21 team of the season, and Svet
mhm.
Botman is gonna play
Yep,
in this European Championship. So the amount of quality that is in this competition, people need to pay attention to it.
they
And
do.
Portugal, oof, that trio in midfield,
Yeah.
Florentine Luis, Jetson, and Vitinha, with Daniel Bragança coming from the bench.
Yep.
Oh, you got Rafael Leão, Tiago Tomás, Gonçalo Ramos. Those strikers mean goals.
Yeah. They almost have a
Got
France problem. You can only put
uh
11 on the field.
true, but France. I'm like I want Portugal to win, but
Mhm.
I need to admit it. France are absolutely stacked. There
Yeah.
is no Konate and Upamecano did moves to Bayern Munich and Liverpool, and they're playing in this competition.
Yeah. It's unreal.
It's
Unreal with that. But I gotta say, we're forgetting here that Spain did win it the last. Yeah, Spain
mm,
won it the last time. That was only 2 years ago. But you were saying we have to watch this, right? U21 Euros. Well, here's the reason why. When Spain won 2 years ago, it was Dani Olmo, it was Fabian Ruiz, it was oh man, who was the other one? Mikel. I'm gonna get his last name wrong. Oyarzabal. Did I get that
Oyarzabal.
right? The
Hmm.
Real Sociedad guy who also seems to hit in. They're mostly penalty
He's a
kicks,
good
but
player. He's a good
10
player.
plus 10 plus a year in La Liga. But they were the ones leading Spain to the tournament win, so they're going to be the ones leading the Spanish in Euro 2020s,
Yeah.
Euro 2020, I should say. So I'm not going to count Spain out because you got a Yavi Puado. You've
Mm.
got who are the other big ones from them? Help me out here.
Well, they got Brian Gil. I
Mm-hmm.
really like Brian Gil. I had here that is my one to watch. I have 5 players here. I wanna shout out
Okay.
to followers on TikTok and YouTube, so they can have special attention to them. And Antonio Blanco, going with the Spanish team. Antonio
Mhm.
Blanco from Real Madrid. He is going to be a player that people will know. He. It's interesting. He's the Busquets type player that you would expect to be at La Masia, but no,
Yeah.
he's with Real Madrid Academy, and he is really good, really good. Antonio Blanco. You saw him play, right, in the youth league.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
Really good. Then I got Chico Conceição,
Hmm.
who I think he was the youngest ever goal scorer, with his last goal in for Portugal, coming off the bench. Really good player, fast pace, really good cut inside. Another one to watch, and Daniel Bragança too,
Okay.
because this Sporting kid, he's got a special touch,
Hmm.
really good touch. Expect to see him next season a lot for Sporting. And Kareem Adayami. I don't want
Yes.
to jinx his name. Kareem Adayami. You people will soon know him because he'll leave RB Salzburg very soon. I don't see him staying too long, and he's one of the best Germany prospects out there, next to Wirtz Musiala.
Yeah.
Kareem Adayami, one of
Yeah.
the best. And Lovro Majer, Croatian talent, underrated in my opinion.
For
Dinam
sure.
Zagreb, midfielder,
Hmm.
really good player too. And yeah, these are my
Yeah,
spots.
well, I like all those. The Kareem Adeyemi one is I think he's going to have one full season with Red Bull Salzburg, kind of like with Patson Daka, kind of like with Dominic Szoboszlai before him. But he will get his day, right, to lead the line for Salzburg, see who they can upset, and him and Brendan Aronson are actually going to create a pretty awesome duo there. And they're going to have to rebuild a little bit because we do feel like Daka is going to leave. But Adeyemi, I believe, had double-digit goals for them this year and did most of it coming off the bench. Right, he got more starts later in the season. Scored some very important goals for them to help win the actual title, the league title for like the 50 billionth year in a row, or at least it feels like that. But that German future is pretty. I mean, a lot has to align for that future to develop properly. But
Mm.
between Florian Wirtz, who will also be at the U21 Euros, even though I think he should be at the Euros itself, that's a Wirtz versus Musiala kind of argument that you could have.
Mm.
But Florian Wirtz, Kareem Adeyemi, Yusufa Mukoko, Jan Thielman, and then you have obviously Jamal Musiala. These kids, they haven't even cracked the age of 20.
They
I
might
mean,
shaft.
that is just an exciting future and there will be somebody else, but
And the Italian
that's
team too. The Italian
yeah,
team too won't be easy. Is Tonali there?
I,
I'm not sure. Gianluca Scamacca, I think that's his
Jean,
name.
yep, he's
Really
been
good player.
phenomenal.
Really
Hmm.
good player. Cutrone is there too. I was when I saw his name, I said, "Oh, he's here." And Piamonte, oh, he's there too. But
Yeah,
I saw that a lot of players that were of Spezia, they had an interesting bunch. They didn't have a lot of AC Milan, Juventus academy players.
yeah,
It's I don't know. The scouting team of Portugal, they had to do their homework. But I still feel like Portugal. If Portugal beats Italy, who they'll get?
Portugal beat Italy, it'll be an Iberian showdown. It'll be Spain, Croatia, and whoever wins, which we expect Spain, but you never know.
Mm.
With Moro pulling the strings, and Lovro Majer pulling the strings, it's a toss up. But I would expect to see Spain versus Portugal,
Mm.
and
Who wins the Netherlands France? Like,
yes,
because when we release this video, I think the results gonna be out.
yeah.
So who's gonna win it? So
Uh,
our followers think like the gurus. Like that. We
yeah.
got some comments say, I'm not a football messiah, guys. I'm just a guy who likes football."
Yeah. I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go with France. I'm gonna go with
Okay.
the who I think the favorites are. But I think another dark horse to watch is you talked about Portugal not giving up, not conceding any goals in the group stage, right?
Mhm.
Last time around,
Mhm.
Denmark didn't either, and guess who they beat along the way? France. They beat France.
Mm.
So there's these are good teams. These are really solid collections of teams, and I think there will be an upset. But when all is said and done, I'm not going to go against France. I think it's
But
going to be France.
it's gonna be France. Yeah, it's the most stacked team. But even like you mentioned, Boadu, and
Mhm.
Netherlands still have Brian Broby. Brian Broby is there too.
Is he?
Yeah,
I didn't
he
see him on
is.
the. I probably just missed him, but that would make sense. I mean, he's of the age and certainly
He's
one
there
hell of a
too.
talent. So okay,
And Divine, you know him better.
Divine
The
Ranch.
name,
Yep.
he's talk about him. I don't know a lot about him. I saw a
Yeah.
couple of Ajax games, but I saw that
Well,
Gravenberch was a tank, but he's underrated, no?
he is underrated. I think his first couple games for the Ajax first team were shaky,
Mm.
and then he put in, and I'm gonna botch it. I don't remember which competition, but he
Okay.
put in some just unbelievable. I think it was maybe a brace or had a goal and 2 assists. Just kind of one of those aha moments, like, oh, this kid. Okay, now I'm seeing what you're talking about. If you don't follow, the young division, right? You don't follow the young guys over in the Eredivisie. You don't really get to see too much of them. But Rensch has versatility, right? Right back, he can play in the midfield, he can play in the center. I'm not sure if he can play on the left, but I would imagine he could. Just a very, very solid talent, and he's going to get the showcase for sure. And yeah, day one, you're taking on France, so that's going to be interesting. But yeah, he's a hell of a talent. And then the other one that we barely even talked about is definitely for me. Well, we barely talked about Florian Wirtz and Riddle Baku. Okay, Baku and Wirtz were two of the breakout stars of the Bundesliga this year. So Denmark, Germany, Denmark might have the defense based on their beating of France in the group stages, but Germany, this Riddle Baku should be, in my opinion, on the German roster for the Euros. And his versatility as well. He's fullback. He could be a fullback. He could be a wing back. He could be a winger. But he played every role he could in a breakout year, had a bunch of goals, bunch of assists, and is a tireless worker. And then you got Wirtz. Musiala late in the year kind of overtook Wirtz in terms of the headlines, but he's Kai Havertz starting out again. It's like they regened Kai Havertz. Very different player.
Stopped scoring goals though. I think Wirtz stopped scoring goals, and Musiala kept them. And Bayern winning the title. All the news is gonna go to Musiala. I get you though. I feel like he's overlooked. Florian Wirtz is a talent that is overlooked.
Yeah, but you also got to remember it was Moussa Diaby and Leon Bailey that just kind of took over the goal scoring, So
those two are very underrated. Leverkusen might have the most underrated talents out there. Tapsoba too, center back.
Yeah, he's really big transfer target. Big transfer target.
And Jeremy Frimpong left Celtic to Leverkusen.
Yeah, hasn't gotten on just yet, but he did get quite a few appearances later on in the year for them when there were some injuries. I think he'll have a breakout season next year too. We'll see. Yeah, he was great for Celtic though. I remember him.
Well, yeah. He's a good young talent. So you guys requested it. I saw so many comments about it. Talk about transfers. So we're going to talk about a couple of news we've been seeing lately this week. And I'm going to start with the most devastating one, in my opinion, because Donnarumma, I feel like he should have stayed at AC Milan. Because I feel the excuse he had beforehand was AC Milan didn't play Champions League football. But the year that AC Milan qualify to the Champions League, Donnarumma leaves. And Maldini is doing the discussions to renew your contract. And I don't feel there was too much respect towards Maldini. And the numbers that were in the news, they were ludicrous. I think it's Raiola getting 20 million commission, 10 million a year for Donnarumma. I know big players demand big wages because they do bring a lot to the table. It is true. But Donnarumma's 22. Time isn't an issue for him right now. And if he goes to Juventus, what are your thoughts on this? I want to hear it out.
To be honest, I mean, that's actually the only logical place for him to wind up now, because the others that are sniffing around him is you got Barcelona, you got Ter Stegen there, and I just don't see any. I mean, you're going there to be a number 2. I don't think so, and you're going to kick Ter Stegen out. That doesn't make any sense. And then PSG, who still have Keylor Navas, right? He's not retiring. There's no real reason for them to necessarily need that. But the bigger thing here is that if he's going to Juve, right, he's going on a free. And that's like the largest slap in the face that you could give any AC Milan fan that has, some shred of respect and dignity for you, right? Moving forward. So he's in a what do they call it? A rock. No, he's behind the 8 ball. If you're talking billiards, he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. And frankly, I think he got crappy advice this time around. And he's not. There's no good decision here. He'll get paid though.
You said no team needs a keeper. I see that Europa League final. I think Man United may need a keeper.
Yeah, that's just
Donnarumma at Man United. will we make this rumor happen?
I'm okay. I'm okay with that. It makes a whole lot of sense. I'd rather see Dean. I just want to know. I mean, how
Mm,
many millions of dollars per point saved or point one, right? For Donnarumma, does it make sense if you could take, say, a flyer on a Dean Henderson, and maybe reinvest elsewhere where you really know you need it? Um,
true. True, but I feel like what's happening too is AC Milan not a big club like Juventus, because we have Theo Hernandez maybe leaving, we've got Donnarumma leaving, and I don't feel like this attracts big players to AC Milan, because the big players are leaving.
yeah.
So you go there, you improve, and then you leave. Is this the image that we're gonna have for AC Milan?
And the funny thing is you're also riding what, like a 39-year-old, and asking him to do that year in year out, for Zlatan. So it is an interesting
He
position
did
that
make a
Milan is
difference.
in.
He did make
Yeah.
a
Oh, it
difference.
absolutely made a difference. But I'm just saying it's not necessarily a kind of a repeatable process there. You
Yeah.
can't ask, if there's one person you can ask to do that to, it's Lawton.
Hmm.
But the majority of most people will slow down. So it's going to be interesting to see who they can bring in the offseason with the Champions League money.
But I did mention there Theo Hernandez, and personally, I feel like if PSG get Theo Hernandez and Hakimi, they
Yeah.
fixed their fullback issue.
Well, yeah. I mean,
And Neymar, no more demands. You got the team. If they get Hakimi and Theo Hernandez, people can't say, "Oh, Mitchell De Baker he's playing bad." Blah 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 blah. You got Hakimi now.
yeah. Well,
You
I
got
mean,
Marquinhos.
it tells you all you need to know about who they're targeting. Let's go find the best U23, or I think Teo's 24 now, but let's go find the best young fullbacks, slot them in there, because that tells you all we need to know about what our weaknesses were this year. I mean, the fullbacks were just not good for them.
I
Uh,
agree. I
so
agree. But what did you think about the Pochettino news? Going back to Tottenham.
it's a culture thing,
Mm.
in the sense that if they don't give you the reins, I don't know if this has anything to do with those kind of scant rumors around Pochettino returning to White Hart, well, not White Hart Lane anymore, to Tottenham Stadium or whatever it's called,
Mm-hmm.
Spurs Stadium. But I just think it's one of those. It's they expect to win and win now, and when win now is your only kind of expectation, and the Champions League is what we're talking about here for the most
Mm-hmm.
part. You're almost doomed for failure, because I think in this day and age, it's virtually impossible. There's too many super clubs. It's virtually impossible to buy yourself, 5 Champions Leagues in a row. There has to be a culture that's built around. So it needs to be the guys like, you know, there needs to be a blend of PSG Academy and the stars they bring in to complement them, right?
Okay.
And that's my thought process. I could be way off, but
Who's
it
the
just
who's the who's the talent that you think should have stayed of the PSG academy? Because they
uh,
got a lot of them, like
like
Tanguy Nianzou that went now to Bayern Munich. He's really good.
yeah. I mean, and so many of them
Adil,
that
Adil that went to Bordeaux or Saint
yeah, and I don't know
Etienne
how to
now.
say his last name, Ashish.
No, and then you
Uh,
got the Saint Etienne. Yassine Adli went to Bordeaux, and
yep,
this other player went to Saint Etienne. Can't
yep.
remember.
And
I don't know, but another PSG academy player.
yeah, well, you also have Nkunku, who is a little older, but he's been pulling the strings for
True.
for Leipzig. Had a phenomenal year this year. Obviously, he might not fit into the tactic of whoever is the boss at the time, but these are guys that if you foster them a little bit, at least you can get paid more for them when you unload them.
True.
It just doesn't really make too much sense that it's just they just let him go, like Dan Axel Zagadou, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he hasn't yet realized his potential
Oh,
at
but he's
Dortmund,
so good.
but there's so many that have come from that academy, and there's so many behind them. They keep churning them out, but yet there's got to be some way you can bring him in there, build a culture around him, and I honestly think
Isn't
that,
that
man,
the manager? Isn't that the manager though?
yeah. But the
It's
manager has to be given the string, right, to
Mm.
do so, given the yarn, whatever the hell you want to call
But
it. But
that's Leonardo, right? He's the one who makes the signings, does the contract negotiations.
it's true.
He must have a ton of pressure now.
I
But
would think so.
with Mbappe leaving,
Hmm.
and I wanted to mention a player too that we don't speak a lot about him, and he is too in the under 21, in the European competition, and it's Brahim Diaz,
Yeah.
at AC Milan.
Hmm.
He's really good. Like, and Real Madrid got him a loan deal with no obligation to buy,
Hmm.
and he improved at AC Milan, and his stock rised,
Yeah.
and they might snatch 20 to 30 million with him. What are your thoughts on him?
I think, yeah, I'm actually excited. He was another one I meant to mention about that Spanish team tomorrow, but he had a great season. I mean, he disappeared for stretches, but so did a lot of their young guys, which you kind of have to expect at some point. Like Rafael Leal got, he got
He
pretty
got injured.
into things for a while and then kind of stepped away a little bit and then came back. Alexis Selemakers, the Belgian, he also played a big role for them. They even bought late on from Bodo in Norway, Jans Petter Hauge, and I probably killed that name. But
Mm-hmm.
they're building stock, right? They're at least giving these guys chances. And obviously, it was the Ante Rebiches. It was the who was the guy? Why can't I remember his name right now? The set piece taker
Who? Who? Tell me.
with it. Oh, with a Turkish last name.
Sanyan Glue.
Yes, thank you.
Really good.
I mean, these guys were the ones leading the way, but each of these guys, Brahim Diaz, why am I blanking? Salamakers, Kalulu, all of these guys
Kalulu.
actually
Diogdalo.
played, yeah, good
Diogdalo.
roles.
Because
Yeah.
that's another player too that he needs to make a decision this summer.
Mhm.
Does he stay at United? I don't think he should stay at United. I feel like maybe he should leave to maybe go indefinite to Italy. I don't think he was too bad at AC Milan. There were games in which you could see he was a little bit shaking, but
Yeah, it cut out. Who did you say?
Diogdalo.
Oh yeah, yeah, Diogo. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think he does, and I think Milan has the space for him. Right? They have the. It's
Mm.
just whether or not has he been healthy all year?
No, I don't think he has though. He had a moment in the season in which he was in really good form, and then he kind of he kind of settled. But
Mhm.
well, I did see some news I wanted to mention too. The
Okay.
Marcus Edwards. I don't know if you remember this Tottenham prospect.
Dribbling beast.
Uh, yeah, he's really good dribbling. He's
Yeah.
Guimarães. They
Mhm.
they got a really good player. This is interesting to mention too that Tap Soba was at Guimarães, and now Marcus Edwards. Like, they're doing really good scouting. They
Yeah,
deserve recognition for that.
I agree.
And the news is Marcus Edwards to Sporting. Marcus Edwards bought Paulinho. Sporting, they're if Marcus Edwards goes there, they're making the right deals to revalidate the title.
Sure.
Like, what do you think of him? What do you remember of Marcus Edwards?
Well, I mean that's a whole nother conversation about Spurs Academy and all the guys that we all thought had a whole bunch of promise, and unfortunately they've gone elsewhere not necessarily realize it. And you're left with like the Oliver Skips and Harry Winks of the world, and
Mm.
hopefully the young guy that Dane Scarlett who just got his chance this year. But yeah, you have a bunch of guys like the Troy Parrott and Marcus Edwards that they're just not really given a chance.
Mm.
And Edwards, we knew always had the dribbling ability. I think it was with the youth national teams, right, that we got to see that firsthand. But you and I mean, if I did not know you, I don't know if I would have known that Marcus Edwards was kind of tearing up Liga Nosh, right? And he's constantly, I think for the last two seasons, right, he's been pretty high up on the dribbles won per game.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't necessarily make an effective player, but at the same time, he's had an impact for his team, and I'm excited to see him taking that step up. And it's definitely a new track that people can take that some of these English young cast-offs can go to try and get playing time, like an Angel Gomez, right?
I remember talking to you, and I feel like this should be a topic. Like, is the MLS a new destination for developing players?
It
Like
is.
Brenner went there. No, Brenner is there right now.
Brenner
Talej Magno went to New York City.
just debuted. Yep, debuted yesterday in a win.
Like, what's happening? What's happening? Tell us what's happening in the States.
Well, that is a whole nother conversation for sure. But right now, what you're getting is a combination of the success that was taken with Miguel Almiron at Atlanta United. So these billionaire owners of MLS teams are actually getting the chance to open up their pockets some. The reason why MLS, you think of a bunch of billionaires in the US, right? You think of all the NFL teams; they all basically have a hand in these MLS teams. You've got a actual construct that keeps the spending low for Major League Soccer. So the fact that they're opening them up for these youth players like a Brenner very much makes them a destination as a stepping stone, right? And if you can buy Brenner for $12, $13 million, FC Cincinnati, who was absolutely horrendous last year, but then you can turn around and 2 years later, you foster him, you give him phenomenal training facilities, constant playing time, and pretty damn good coaching. You can sell him off for double that, right? And it makes a whole lot of sense. And that's the same with Talles Magno. Talles Magno was playing for Vasco in Serie B, right? In the Brazilian second division. So it makes a lot of sense. The Brazilian thing is new because previously it was Colombians, it was some Argentinians like Santiago Sosa at Atlanta United, but it's going to continue and you're going to see more stepping stones. You'll never necessarily see a Marcus Edwards heading over to MLS, but who knows? Maybe that'll change too.
Oh, you saw Jack Harrison.
You did? Well, Jack Harrison did go to Wake Forest. He went to college in the States.
Okay.
And then he was taken first. And man, that is a story in and of itself too.
That's a good story.
It is a great story.
But
he's an awesome player.
But what I think with the MLS is you had Beckham, and didn't the league help to have Beckham salary wise? I'm not sure. How does that work? How does a league help a team in terms of salary?
Yeah, it's called the Beckham rule. So think about the Arthur Blank, who co-founded Home Depot, owns Atlanta United. Okay. And he could go out if he wanted to and spend 200. If this was a truly open, non-financial fair play type of situation, he could go out and spend all he wants, right? Mm-hmm. Well, MLS basically said, we've never had a league that lasted more than, say, 10 years, like the NASL back in the heyday of Pele and all that. And I'm sorry, but you just like ruffled the feathers of somebody that loves it. So
wasn't Pele
basically
there?
Yeah,
Beckenbauer.
Giorgio Canaglia, Georgie Best,
Okay.
all these guys. But here's what happened, right? When David Beckham came over, the minimum salary was like the salary cap was smaller than what they were going to pay David Beckham, essentially guaranteed money. So they had to create a rule, and they called it the Beckham rule, but it's also known as a designated player. And it says right now on the rosters, you're allowed like 4 designated players and a couple youth designated players. And it basically says that if the salary cap is, say, $5 million, you can pay any of these players that are designated as designated players as much as you want, but their salary cap hit will only be like $400,000. So you could pay a Brenner $3 million a year, $5 million a year, but it will only hit the cap $400,000. The rest comes from the actual owner, right? Or that. So that's opened up the possibility. David Beckham started this process, and it was a bunch of old stars, right? Wayne Rooney came to DC United. Zlatan came to LA Galaxy. Yeah. Pirlo and Frankie Lampard for NYCFC.
Thierry Henry.
He actually had some really good games. I was covering the Red Bulls back then, but this literally led to they've all gotten younger over the years. And now with Atlanta United having success with Miguel Almiron and that sale off to Newcastle for like $25 million, it doubled the amount. So MLS is going to continue to be a selling, much like the Eredivisie is, but they create their players and then they sell them off. In MLS, you're going to have creating players like a Tyler Adams, right, and selling them off, or a Gio Reyna was NYCFC, Brendan Aronson or Mark McKenzie. And then you're also going to have these young superstars coming in like a Thales Magno, Santiago Sosa, Miguel Almiron, Joseph Martinez, and then you have them selling. So MLS is going to become a big destination.
Well, the South Americans got hit financially with Corona really hard.
Yeah.
So I feel like any option that was financially good,
Yeah.
they went for it. And even I saw some really low deals with Lucas Veríssimo that went to Benfica.
Sure.
He was really cheap. But yeah, that's really interesting how the MLS has the same philosophy as the NBA.
Yeah.
But you agree with it though? Do you want it to stay like that?
As of right now, I do.
Would
Because
there be a time that you say like, let's go big, let's get the big players to the MLS?
Well, absolutely, but MLS is still 1996, so it's still young. To talk about what was it? I think Brentford, who just made its way back into the Premier League since 1947, for the first time since 1947. They've been a club for like 140 years, 130 years. We are babies, right? We are babies with a global footprint, but we are also, you have the NBA, you have the NFL that have these amazing global footprints. And, you take a little bit from them. But I think for right now, we're heading into MLS is going to be a selling league for the next 5-10 years. And then who knows what happens. They're never going to open up the purse strings and say, spend whatever you want, because just like any other sport in the United States, we'll spend. I mean, they'll spend. And what we don't want is we don't want essentially the league going under, right? We want this league to be around 20 years, 30 years.
And it's not easy competing with the fact that you don't have the Champions League. That is something that the MLS will always be competing against. The Eredivisie, Liga NOS.
Yep.
They're going to play on the biggest stage in the world of football, and that is the Champions League.
Yeah, and then you marry that to the fact that you have to go up against NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, and you have an American public that is warming up, mostly thanks to the U.S. women's national team being so damn successful, but warming up to the fact that there's soccer culture or football culture that's being built every day in the United States, and it's going to continue. But 25 years ago, I learned about football. My little 2-year-old is not going to know a world without Major League Soccer. She's not going to know a world without Major League Soccer. So it's a big deal. It is.
No, that is amazing. That's so cool. It's the impact that it's having. And these stars, Gio Reyna, like he may be the one that marks a new generation of U.S. stars. Caden Clark, Gio Reyna, Cade Cowell, Brendan Aronson.
Yeah. And there's more behind him. Christian Pulisic opened Pandora's box. And now everybody is starting to make those moves. I mean, there's so many that have had their imprint made in the lower levels of, say, the youth academies at FC Dallas. Gio Reyna was at NYCFC, where his dad was actually the technical director for a while. Claudio, who's a legend. But there are more beyond them. And we have two things that we should focus on in the future, 2 episodes. One episode where we talk about all the young South American talent, right? Okay. Not just MLS, but those that might actually be really good European transfer targets. And then the other one should be the next generation of American footballers. Because there's a lot of talent. There's like, I believe there are like 5 Gio Reynas coming up the ranks right now.
This is a big statement. Oh, this is a big statement. I'm going to soundbite that. You're saying there are 5 Gio Reynas right now coming up.
Different positions, but absolutely. I think there are 5 that are going to follow well, they now think what Gio Reyna is doing, they now think that is normal, right? So you've got 12, 13, 14-year-olds right now that have had better training from day one, right?
Good argument.
And they're put in a setting that no longer is, the American mentality is I don't care if you're 6 years old or you're 15 years old. The aim is to win. I don't care how you win, just get it done. Right.
And these American youngsters, they're playing against big teams earlier, I think.
Yes. Yeah, and the academy is getting better every year. The coaching's getting better. Everything's getting better, and we hope it continues. But why are we?
There you go.
I could talk forever about this.
Thank you guys for watching episode 6. You guys are amazing. Really appreciate the love. We love you guys on TikTok, YouTube. Thank you for the support.
Yeah,
Peace.
a lot of stuff coming, guys, and Alex is going to do a whole episode on why his accent is so mystifying.
There you go.
We'll see you next time.